recognizable to him. This is a Talmud professor, but not a fundamentalist. In place of the temple, he would find the court and study house of Rabbi Judah the Patriarch, editor of the Mishnah. He would find scholars rather than priests assuming leadership roles in the community. Instead of sacrifices, he would find a religious life centered around prayer and study. He would find a focus on the obligations of the individual as opposed to the first temple emphasis on the collective fate of the community. And he would learn, to his surprise, that the revelation of Moses at Sinai comprised an oral Torah as well as a written one. He'd be surprised to learn that. You know, the question is raised, some folks that say the King James is the only true translation. You say, well, on what basis do you say that? You go, it's good enough for Paul, it's good enough for me. One rabbi told me a joke about how do we know that Isaac wore a yarmulke? The answer is, well, it says in Genesis 24, he was meditating in the field, he's praying. And you mean he'd be praying without wearing a yarmulke? See, I fully understand that there are things that are done in Christian churches today that are loosely based on scriptures, order of service and different things that happen. But you can't say that's the way they did it in New Testament times. I believe if we went back in centuries, look, you just go to other countries. I've been privileged to be in many different countries and many different cultures. And to find what's normal for them is very different than what's normal for me. And yet we're agreeing on the fundamentals. Well, I can quite assure you that you take Moses and put him in a Talmudic academy where they're talking about what he taught and said, and he'd be quite surprised to hear. There's even a famous account where he's sitting in the school of Rabbi Akiva, so early 2nd century CE. He's sitting in the school of Rabbi Akiva who's teaching his disciples, and Rabbi Akiva is coming up with things, just interpretations based on the structure of the letters of the words and the little stroke here and there, these wild interpretations, and Moses is thinking, this guy should have been given the Torah. I mean, he's so far beyond me. And then Akiva says, then he attributes all this back to Moses. Of course, the interesting Talmudic explanations of the whole account. It's a legendary account meant to be, but it's quite interesting that there's the reflection that Moses sitting there didn't even get it. And then he found out he said it. He transmitted it. He wrote it. So, listen to a different testimony, Orthodox Jewish testimony from a different perspective. Dr. Emanuel Jakovovitz, who is the former chief rabbi of the United Kingdom, he said, when our sages asserted that the Holy One, blessed be He, did not make His covenant with Israel except by virtue of the oral law, the Talmud Gittin 60b, they not only propounded a cardinal Jewish belief, they also expressed a truth as evident today as it was in Talmudic times. The true character of Judaism cannot be appreciated except by an intimate acquaintance with the oral law. The written law, that is the 5 books of Moses, and even the rest of the Hebrew Bible, we share with other faiths. What makes us and our faith distinct and unique is the oral tradition as the authentic key to an understanding of the written text we call the Torah. So in that sense, the oral tradition is more important, because that's the key that unlocks the door. And Rabbi Singer's analogy, and others have used, that a man gives his wife a beautiful ring and then whispers something in her ear. The ring is for everyone to see. What he whispers in her ear, that's what's really precious to her. So the written book, that's for everyone to have, but what God whispered in the ear of Israel, that's what's really sacred. The fact is, there's no such thing. There's no binding, authoritative tradition going back to Moses at Mount Sinai. And I've done my best to read the best arguments on this. I've got a large library of books that just deal with